there are several parties, including the Democratic Alliance, that have already signed the statement of intent, however non-binding legally, but they've signed the statement of intent with the ANC already to be a part of this GNU. Are you saying that they should withdraw that, or the ANC should kick them out of it, and then you enter the fore?
Yes, that's our firm proposal. We're saying ANC must walk away from that, because they know that it's not in the best interest of the downtrodden and the forgotten and the unemployed and the landless of this country. It's not in the interest of black people. Let me just put it that way.
At a personal level, there is no frustration, but at a leadership level, the people of South Africa, it's almost a month now, went to elections and they spoke out loud and clear that find common ground, work together, take the country forward. We cannot engage indefinitely. We need to reach a point where we agree that coalition is a give and take. It's not that I want it or nothing. The country, the next 5 years, we will be living this life. If we can't find a common ground now, we make the next 5 years going to be a difficult period for our people.
Ma-Afrika mahle siyanibingelela futhi siyanamukela kuleli khasi njengoba sazibophezela ukuthi sizonithulela indaba ezithinta ipolitiki emva kokhetho lwango-2024. Esiniphathele zona-ke namhlanje ezithinta incwadi entsha ephuma kwi-EFF ibhekise kwi-ANC. Siyazi ukuthi sike sayibona incwadi kodwa incwadi ebesiyibona besiphakathi kwe-DA kanye ne-ANC. Okuvelayo manje ukuthi kanti i-EFF isafuna ukungenelela kulo hulumeni we-GNU, ingakho-ke sithumele enye incwadi manje ithumelela umongameli uCyril Ramaphosa. Kanti ezinye futhi zithinta iqembu le-IFP. I-IFP siyazi ukuthi nayo yasayina ukujoyina i-National Government of Unity kanye ne-DA namanye amaqembu. So into eyenzakalayo-ke i-IFP ayeneme ngendlela izinto ey'hamba kancane ngakhona ukuthi umongameli uCyril Ramaphosa akalimemezeli namanje ikhabhinethi lakhe. Kubukeka sengazi ukuthi i-IFP igijima ngo-180 ngempela futhi inqenqa wonke omunye umuntu ukuthi naye akagijime ngo-180. Lento yokwenza kancane le iyabambezela, abantu balindile bafuna ukuthi izwe liqhubeke. Into emangazayo ukuthi igijima kangaka nje i-NFP iyakhalaza ngayo KZN ukuthi isigijime yayo ibeka esikhundleni sobumeya kumkhandlu waseZululand. Nokuyinto i-NFP ethi bengafanele ukuthi yenzeke ngenxa yevumelwano ababenazo njengoba behlangene kulo hulumeni we-Government of National Unity.
IFP members are continuing undermining this GNU or this GLU that we're trying to forge, and it comes at the expense of NFP. I'm here as a party leader and as a council declared by IEC. Now the IFP is not playing ball. They need to fix their house. So whatever happened yesterday needs to be nullified and be corrected by the IFP. That's what the letter was all about, that we are not satisfied with how IFP is constantly meddling in NFP's issues.
The EFF says it has written to the ANC calling for a new statement of intent on a government of national unity between them. However, the Red Berets refused to work with the DA and Freedom Front Plus. I'm joined now by the EFF Secretary General, Marshall Dlamini. Marshall, thank you so much for your time in joining us this evening on News at Prime. Tell us about this letter that you wrote to the ANC and what you're proposing.
We wrote the letter to the ANC because we've had several meetings with the ANC, and we felt it's important to take the nation on issues of transparency and what we're negotiating with the ANC. Because you remember that after the results were announced, the EFF was the first organization to accept the results. And the president went to address a press conference where he said, we're going to participate because the voters have decided not to give any party majority, but we, as responsible leadership of the EFF, we're going to participate, and our first meeting is going to be with the ANC, which we had those meetings. We've had 3 meetings now with the ANC. But what they've done is that, and we've done that respectfully, and we've done that accepting just the principles of respect and privacy. And through our communication, now and again, we get reports that says the EFF is making unreasonable demands. And as leaders of society, we know that this is not time to play a game now with the lives of our people, where this nation is stuck. It's a nation that it's looking for direction. And we can't be irresponsible leaders. But now and again, when we get those statements, and we still remain disciplined and respectful to the ANC to say, but you know that what we have dealt with in these private meetings between the 2 parties, and we felt it's time that we let society and the nation know that this is what we've been negotiating with the ANC. From that letter, there is nothing new that we have not discussed with the ANC from day one, that we're going to participate in the reorganizing of this nation under this situation. We will find ourselves where there's no outright winner in terms of the elections. And that's exactly what we've done. So we've released that letter, and we've pointed the issues that we think it's the best interest of the ANC to work with parties like the EFF and other progressive parties that not seek to bring back racism, not to bring back this country to be under the imperialist control. Parties that will make sure that this country, it can continue with what it envisioned in 1994, when it wanted to rebuild this society and make sure that our people that have been excluded in this country, have been landless, have been jobless, have been homeless, have been excluded and exploited through colonialism and racism. For the first time, they can benefit in the soil of their birth. But we wanted to contribute and make sure that that vision still continues. That's why we put that letter. But also just to take the nation in confidence to say, this is what we've been talking about. This is what we've negotiated. If these are unreasonable demands, at least society must know that this is what the EFF is doing.
So it's also to put to bed whether or not the EFF would be participating in this GNU. For those who are saying that this letter perhaps may come at the 11th hour, you're saying that, look, we actually have had several meetings with the ANC anyway. We're just giving you into our confidence as to what we've been discussing. These demands that you're also proposing, these proposals that you're making to the ANC as well, how have they been received by them? I mean, one of them here, you're saying that you're willing to participate in any executive as long as the DA and Freedom Front Plus are not there. But also you're saying that the president, while he may have his prerogatives to choose his cabinet as well, this must be done in consultation with the EFF. And that's one of your demands, I guess, from this letter. Tell us about that. And how is he exercising his prerogative if he must consult with you on every decision first?
No, as I'm saying that this letter, it's not those things that we put there, the proposals that we put, because those are proposals.
Yeah.
That we are putting there, and we are putting the position of the EFF that we cannot be part of those that are contributing on taking this country back to those that seek to make sure that apartheid is back, racism it's found on our streets, imperialists are the one who are going to determine the policy and the direction of this country, which is what the DA and the Freedom Front represent. Freedom Front, it represents racists who want, even now, part of their demands that they want Orania to be recognized as an independent area that is exclusively for racists only, which we cannot support that. And that's just an issue from the foundations of the EFF that will never participate on anything that seeks to make sure that racism could country. The DA, they are representing those that want the status quo to remain, to make sure that the property rights remain with the minorities, the economy of this country. Majority of our people, they don't participate, they remain slave workers where they can work in their own farms and never have to participate in all industries. As things stand, all the industries is controlled by those that have controlled this country prior 1994. So our letter is not late, it's not on the 11th hour. What is on that letter is what was discussed in the very first meeting with the ANC. In the second meeting and in the third meeting, nothing has changed there. So it's not late, but we thought it's important that because we are serious about this and we are not here to waste time and blame anyone. We are saying to the ANC, here's an opportunity, the voters have decided, but even when they decided in that manner, we cannot surrender this country and take everything back and reverse even the little gains that this country has achieved in the last 30 years by surrendering this country back to the racists, back to those want to see colonialism coming back, entering the borders of this country. And it will be irresponsible for us not to participate and our stance and put our contribution to say we want to participate with the numbers that we have with the ANC. There's no need to go and back races and minorities of white minorities of the DA that wants to take control of this country and reverse everything. So our letter is not it's not something new that we're putting. We agree on our proposal that the president and the premiers, they've got the prerogative as outlined in the constitution that the decision of appointing the cabinet will lie solely with the president, and we accept that. But we are saying in consultation is just pure respect on people that you are working with. We are currently working with the ANC in Ekurhuleni, in Joburg. Even when they want to pass budget, they've got what to call a PMC, Political Management Committee, where they just come and consult that tomorrow this is the direction, this is what we want to do, and through that consultation, it just shows pure respect. It's not a demand to say we are working together. Just consult us, even though we know that the decisions will lie with you on appointing your own cabinet, the premiers. Same goes in the provincial level, where the premier eventually the decisions to appoint his own cabinet lies with them. But just
ask you this. Just sorry to interrupt you there, Marshall. Just sorry to interrupt you there, Marshall. I just want to, because we're going to run out of time soon, I just wanted to ask you, where do things stand as it is right now? Because as it is right now, there are several parties, including the Democratic Alliance, that have already signed the statement of intent, however non-binding legally, but they've signed the statement of intent with the ANC already to be a part of this GNU. Are you saying that they should withdraw that, or the ANC should kick them out of it, and then you enter the floor?
Yes, that's our firm proposal. We're saying ANC must walk away from that, because they know that it's not in the best interest of the downtrodden and the forgotten and the unemployed and the landless of this country. It's not in the interest of black people. Let me just put it that way. Whatever agreement they have with the DA, they know that the Democratic Alliance and the Freedom Front Plus, they've got no interest of black people. It will be worse once they've given the powers to run this state, this economy. It will be worse for black people. Things are bad now, but just imagine Freedom Front Plus having a ministry there of land. It means our people there that are living in the farms that are currently being ill-treated and exploited. The racists will celebrate, and they will do that with permission. They will kill our people to say we've been granted a permission now to practice racism and to kill anything that we hate, because racism is just hatred, it's crime. So we are saying to the ANC, they must walk away from that. We have not signed anything. That's our proposal that we put on them, and as of our last meeting yesterday, we put exactly that, and we did say to them, going to put it in writing, and we did put it in writing, and we sent it to their Secretary General, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, and his office has acknowledged the receipt of the letter.
What do you make of, for instance, the IFP, one of the GNU partners, that have said that the DA and the ANC must find common ground for the sake of South Africans? Should then the ANC walk away from this agreement as well, as you are proposing to walk away from the DA, and parties like the IFP remain, where they have voted with them already for premiers, already voted with them for the president and, of course, the speaker and deputy speaker? How are you going to then navigate that space for parties who want to work with the Democratic Alliance like the IFP?
No, the Democratic Alliance and the IFP, they can go and work. Remember, they had a moonshot pact prior the elections. So we know that from their own foundations, the Democratic Alliance have been working with the with the whites, and they claim to be a black party, but we know that they just not they don't have those interests. So the Moonshot Pack can go back and do what it said to do and what it planned to do of DA and the IFP and the rest of their friends. They can go and do that. We are saying to the ANC, as a former liberation movement, as a progressive organization, as an organization that now and again it stands on making sure that our people, they are liberated, they can participate in they make sure that we are in a progressive society, that our people, they can participate. We're saying for them, it will be wrong to go to that direction. Here is the direction. Here are progressive parties. We've got more than enough. And fortunately, our constitution doesn't say you must bring whites in the table when you want to do it. It says those that have got majority, they can run this country alone. If they don't, you put those percentages together. Once you've got 50 plus 1, run that country alone. And there is nothing that says if the ANC, they work with us, then the ANC is not committed to non-racialism. Because remember, the ANC has been running this country with a simple majority on their own. And no one has ever blamed the ANC of not being committed to non-racialism. So nothing changes now. That the progressive parties, they must work together. The ANC must come onto our side. Let's put the interest of our people at hand. Let's forget about these threats that are coming from these markets and the owners of the economy, because we know that it's for their own selfish reasons and to make sure that they continue profiteering in this country in the exploitation and the exclusion of the majority black people. So we're appealing to the ANC that they must fund it themselves. They must be brave. Whatever the agreements maybe they had with them, if they come prior 1994, but it's the time now, they've lost power. They can tell them that we wanted to hold this country on your behalf so that you can continue enjoying the fruits of this country, but we have lost power now. And at least this time, let's prioritize our people. They deserve better. They deserve to participate in the economy of this country. They deserve to make sure that they've got jobs, they can have their land, they can have houses, service delivery can come through, and we're willing to cooperate and work with the ANC in that manner.
Marshal Dlamini, thank you so much for joining us on News at Prime this evening and just going through some of those statements and that was said in that letter.
The IFP is calling for the ANC and the DA to conclude negotiations around the terms of the government of national unity. 3 weeks after his inauguration, President Cyril Ramaphosa is yet to announce a cabinet. For more on this, I'm now joined by IFP leader Velengosini Hlabisa. Mr. Hlabisa, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. Even as calm as you were and as you usually, I could sense a bit of frustration yesterday during that briefing. Am I correct?
Good afternoon, Vuyo and the viewers of Newsroom Africa. Vuyo, at a personal level, there is no frustration, but at a leadership level, the people of South Africa, it's almost a month now, went to elections and they spoke out loud and clear that find common ground, work together, take the country forward. We cannot engage indefinitely. We need to reach a point where we agree that coalition is a give and take. It's not that I want it or nothing. The country, the next 5 years, we will be living this life. If we can't find a common ground now, we make the next 5 years going to be a difficult period for our people.
Here, of course, to someone who has had face-to-face and personal engagements with both the people whose letters were in the public domain this past week. Your sense of where things are and what exactly is going on between Cyril Ramaphosa and John Steenhuisen?
I will be very careful, Vuyo, because I am a political leader. We share a common space with Mr. Ramaphosa and Mr. Steenhuisen, and some of the discussion and engagement, I would prefer to keep them at a leadership level. All I can see or say, it is very likely that is a stumbling block between the two political parties. And really, the two political parties must come to a point as to, between these portfolios, what is important between the portfolio that is a bone of contention and the country. Can the country stand at a stalemate for too long because we are contesting, because at large is one portfolio, other issues would be minor issues that can be tackled as we go forward. Really, it is up to the leaders, because at the end of the day, the buck stops before them, that they must cross the line and say, let us get a win-win situation and get the country going. It's not something that is too difficult or they are too far apart, as far as I could say, and I can only comment up to that stage because I do want to respect that we are in an equal political space with the two leaders. So my comment will have to not cross a certain line.
Now, your party's treasurer yesterday spoke about, at that briefing, spoke about how this delay is going to affect the work of Parliament. Is that your only concern?
Well, Vuyo, on Tuesday, the Parliament is sitting. Committees has to be starting to function. Certain people have to be assigned to lead certain committees. You can't get to that stage unless you are clear who is deployed where at a cabinet level, so that the Parliament can start its work knowing very well, even if there is a configuration in terms of cabinet, the announcement of the cabinet marks the start of work. You know, other provinces, as I indicated, KwaZulu-Natal, the provincial government is hitting the ground, the MECs are on the ground. They are now setting up portfolios because the Premier announced the cabinet. That is why the IFP is of the view that at the end of the day, the buck stops before the president of our country. At a certain point, he must take the country forward.
Do you get a sense that the two main players in your arrangement, the arrangement that you are part of, are in fact alive to that, to what you just said and described?
Yes, they are working overtime, right around the clock. I know the engagements happening behind the closed doors, and they do have the sense that something is urgent and it must be done before really people lose patience and confidence in the government of national unity, because you need to agree so that people can say, these people will work together. Yes, there will be disagreement in a coalition, but the bottom line, in a coalition, you must find a compromise. You must get a win-win situation. You must not live in a stalemate for too long, because this will create doubt in how are you going to be working over the next 5 years. In terms of agency, I do see, they see the agency. That is why we are urging them that it is time that we finalize whatever stalemate is and let the country go and the Parliament start to do its work.
How you are going to work together in the next 5 years being the operational phrase here. Do you believe that all of you went about this the right way? Because there's been criticism that you actually, went for what should have been the last consideration. In other words, cabinet positions and the like, when in fact you should have started with what that operational phrase. In other words, how are we going to, or can we work together over the next 5 years? That should have been the first conversation before you actually discussed about who could occupy what position at executive level.
Voyo, in my assessment, South Africa is more ready for a coalition government or a government of national unity than 1994. If you look at the leaders in the national parliament as well as provincial governments, we are all having an experience of working at a government level, which was not the case in most people in 1994. And some of us have undergone an extensive engagement in various countries of the world, looking at successful coalition government, Denmark, Germany, and a number of other countries, because we had long known that post-2024 elections, South Africa will be under a coalition government. I am very confident the framework that was.
There is uncertainty in government of provincial unity in KwaZulu-Natal as the IFP and the NFP appear to be on a collision course over the mayoral position in the Zululand district municipality. The NFP failed to secure the mayoral position which they say they expected to get. The NFP has been the kingmaker in the provincial legislature after their one seat helped give an IFP, ANC, DA and NFP coalition the majority to govern. But after the IFP's Khumalo was elected as Zululand district mayor this week, the NFP has called for the sitting to be declared null and void, as they say they weren't present and also needed to be consulted as it was agreed earlier.
IFP members are continuing undermining this GNU or this GLU that we're trying to forge, and it comes at the expense of NFP. I'm here as a party leader and as a council declared by IEC. Now the IFP is not playing ball. They need to fix their house. So whatever happened yesterday needs to be nullified and be corrected by the IFP. That's what the letter was all about, that we are not satisfied with how IFP is constantly meddling in NFP's issues.
The IFP says there was never an agreement between the IFP and the NFP on local government matters. They say the agreement was to give the NFP an MEC position at provincial level. The NFP's chairperson Mbali Shinga was appointed as the MEC for social development in the government of provincial unity led by the IFP.
There was never an agreement that the NFP will support the IFP in exchange of the mayoral position in Zululand given to the NFP. There was no such agreement. The IFP went into an extent that even if the NFP did not qualify to get the MEC in KwaZulu-Natal, but we agreed that let us give one position of MEC to the NFP in the provincial legislature of KwaZulu-Natal. That is what was agreed, and we honored it.
He added that the party is open to engage with the NFP to find an amicable solution to its grievances.